Hello guys, and thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. So today in this episode, we're going to do a breakdown of the Colts. This is so they're on their bye week. We're 5-5. We're just going to break down whether or not we think the Colts are glass half full, trending in the right direction, or glass half empty on a lot of their different groups. So we're going to talk about the wide receivers, running backs, quarterback, defensive line, all those groups, and say whether or not we think they're trending in the right direction. Thank you for joining me on this episode. But first, let's thank our sponsor, Reynolds Wrap. For 75 years, Reynolds Wrap has provided you with great American aluminum foil that helps save you time in the kitchen. Use Reynolds Wrap to make steamer bags for vegetables. Use for lids for if you can't find a lid. And also use Reynolds Wrap to line sheet pans to save time on cleanup in the kitchen. For 75 years, Reynolds Wrap, everyday aluminum foil, has helped save you time in the kitchen. Thank you to Reynolds Wrap for sponsoring this video. All right, so let's get right into talking about the Colts. So the Colts are 5-5. We just won 2 games in a row, 500. We have 7 games left. We're going to go through every position group and some of the groups on the team and talk about whether or not we think these groups have gotten better as the season started or if they have gotten worse. So let's start. Number 1, let's start with quarterback to start out. So the season started with Anthony Richardson playing quarterback, and then Gardner Minshew came in a couple of times. Let me pull up just their schedule so I have it in front of me here. So yeah, Anthony Richardson, he started the first game against the Jaguars. He started the game against the Texans and then left that game injured. He also left the last series against the Jaguars injured. He was out with a concussion against the Ravens, and Minshew played and won that game. He came back, Richardson, and played against the Rams, and then came back, tied that game, put it into overtime, and we lost that game. He got injured during the Titans game. That's when his season-ending injury happened. And Minshew played really well in the Titans game. Then Minshew had all the turnovers in the Jaguars game and in the Browns game as well. The Saints game, the Colts just could not move the ball, and they could not stop the Saints later on in that drive. And then the last 2 weeks, Panthers and Patriots, Minshew has not had to do too much out there in these last 2 games because we've really handled these teams. So do I think Minshew is trending in the right direction? Well, I think if the team can play as they did in these last 2 games, and they can play that way against Tampa Bay, where we're in the lead most of the time, it's a tight game. But one critical thing in the Patriots game is we were ahead by 4 points. Being ahead, making the other team score a touchdown was critical there. So Minshew, I'm going to say he is not really trending in the right direction. Although the last 2 weeks he's not had any turnovers, if we get into a situation and he has to make some plays down the field, he'll start turning the ball over again. So in that way, he's not been in the position to create a lot of turnovers. So I don't think Minshew is going in the right direction. I think he's gradually has gotten a little bit worse as the seasons went on. And I think it's just tough to be a backup too when you get banged up out there. And, you're not used to it as much as, a franchise quarterback that's been playing year after year after year. But let's go on to the wide receiver group. So wide receivers, I think, are definitely trending in the right direction. So Pittman is having a much better year than I thought he would have, even with Minshew starting. The only guy, Alec Pierce, has played a limited role. I'm going to chalk up part of that, what's happened with Alec Pierce, to the fact that we don't really have somebody that can throw the ball deep on this team. I think Richardson and Pierce may be able to make more of a connection, but Pittman's catching a lot of balls because Minshew throws the ball short over the middle a lot. And some of the other guys, Josh Downs is having a fantastic season. That's part of the reason why I'm saying the wide receivers are having such a good year, because Pittman's having a great year, Downs is having a great year, and some of the tight ends. But we're going to move on to tight ends right now. The tight ends, I'm going to say glass half empty. I'm not positive on the tight ends for a few reasons. Jelani Woods is still on IR and has not made his way back onto the team. I don't know what's going on with his injury or what. He's been around the team. He's been in the locker room, but he's just not out there on the field. One of the positives of tight ends would be Will Mallory has caught a couple of balls, but overall, our tight end production is pretty bad. Ogletree has been another really big bright spot for the team, but we still don't have that dynamic down the field presence at tight end. And until we can get a tight end that can really run the seam and get, 30 to 40 yards down the field and catch a ball, it's going to be tough sledding for these tight ends. Jelani Woods is a really big time talent and should maybe at some point be back on the Colts, but I'm glass half empty on the tight ends for sure. Offensive line, I am trending them upwards. I am glass half full on offensive line. The offensive line, even the backups they brought in, Bernard Ryman is a guy that started playing left tackle last year and has really come on strong and played a lot of left tackle all this year. He was injured for a game or two with a concussion, but also, Freeland has filled in at left tackle and done a halfway decent job. And he's also filled in at right tackle for Braden Smith and done a decent job. French has filled in for Ryan Kelly a couple times at center and done a really great job and stepped in and really had nothing bad happen when French came in. And also, Will Freeze played right guard. One thing I do love about our offensive line, when French plays center and then Will Freeze plays right guard, we have French and Fries on our offensive line. So you don't see that a lot in the NFL. So our offensive line has played really well this year. They need to keep it up. All right, let's go on to the defense. So we'll do the defensive line first. The defensive line, I'm going to say they are trending downwards, and mostly this is because Grover Stewart got suspended with PEDs. Buckner is having a breakout great season, but also some of the other players, Kwity Paye is having a really not a great year, and Odengbo is having a better year, but we need all these guys. We needed Grover Stewart to not get suspended, and we needed Kwity Paye to play better for me to put them in the glasses half full for the defensive line. So and then our secondary is definitely going to be glass is half empty on our secondary. Although they have maybe played a little bit better and not getting torn up, we're playing some really weak teams and some really bad quarterbacks. So our secondary is not good. We traded some guys away in the offseason. That is a spot where if we were going to have a good team with Anthony Richardson going into the future, we need some corners that can hold up a little bit better. And we need a little bit more depth at those positions. Last year and the previous year, the last 2 years, our cornerback depth has been really bad. So it's like if we have one or two good ones on the team and one gets injured, we're like down to a practice squad guy almost. And if two get injured, we're almost like have two guys that wouldn't even start on any other team, not even close. So so secondary, glass half full. Let's go to coaching, though. What do you think about Shane Steichen so far for the Colts? I have been very, very impressed with what he's done so far. I like the energy that he brings. I like his demeanor. He is a no nonsense. Sorry, my nose is running all morning. Shane Steichen is a no-nonsense type of guy, a lot different than what we had with Frank Reich, because Frank Reich was more of like Mr. Nice Guy, and Shane Steichen he's shown like he'll make decisions, he'll fire you, he'll get you right off the field if you're not performing out there. But so tell me what you think about the Colts this season. It's a good time to just kind of reflect on where we're at. We're 5-5. We're more than halfway through the season. We got 7 games left. We have a pretty weak schedule. The weakest, I believe we have the weakest, unless the Saints have the weakest, but we have one of the weakest schedules in the whole league. Could we win 4 games of these last 7 and get in the playoffs? That's what we're going to find out. I mean, the Colts are not nearly as bad as what we think they are. It's just that we don't really have a good quarterback right now, and so it makes it a little bit difficult to watch. But thank you so much for watching this video about the Colts. Share your comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if it was your first time here. And again, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay classy out there, Colts and Hoosier fans.